Joining me now, Jena Griswold, Colorado Secretary of State. She's the chair of the Democratic Association of Secretaries of State. Also with me, Ellen Weintraub, a commissioner for the Federal Election Commission. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for being with us. Ellen, I grew up in Canada where we mark ballots by hand. They get counted by hand, and government people count them. Some of them are appointed by the whatever the electoral body is, that maybe they're volunteers or they're paid. And there are people who monitor those elections. This whole business of this random company coming in, a company led by somebody who has a dog in this fight, seems very strange and unseemly to me.
Yes, it is quite unusual. And I have observed elections around the world. I've never seen anything quite like this. And election officials from across the country, both Democrats and Republicans, have expressed a great deal of concern about this. There's nothing wrong with auditing an election after the election. In fact, it should be routinely done. It should be done by experienced, accredited, nonpartisan professionals. Unfortunately, this company doesn't seem to meet any of those criteria. And it is deeply troubling that they have their hands on the ballot and that neutral observers like that reporter are being thrown out of the room. There is a deeply troubling problem with our democracy where it seems like we have become so polarized that there are increasing numbers of people who will not accept the results of an election as legitimate if the other team wins. And a democracy can't function like that.
Yeah. The normal issues around which we polarize, Secretary Griswold, are one thing. But I thought until now we generally had an agreement on the fairness of elections in this country. Like Commissioner Weintraub says, we send people to other countries to monitor elections. I was speaking to your colleague, Secretary Benson, in Michigan the other day, and she's worried that there are a few other states who are looking at Arizona and maybe taking lessons for how this is going down. How do you feel as you watch this, Secretary Griswold?
Well, good morning, Ali. Thank you for having me on. How I feel is this is dangerous. This cannot be the new normal where, conservative lawmakers are doing sham audits for one big purpose. And that big purpose is to undermine our elections to pass more voter suppression laws. That's what this is. And as they spread more lies, they're able to pass voter suppression laws to help themselves win more elections. It's undemocratic, it's un-American, and it has to stop. We need to be calling this out, but more importantly, we need action to stop conservatives from tilting elections in their favor.
Commissioner Weintraub, what does action look like? Is there someone in charge of this? What does the electoral structure in this country look like? You're with the Federal Election Commission. Do you have teeth in this matter?
We do not. I don't have a dog in this fight. The Federal Election Commission does not run any elections. This is all done at the state and local level, and it's, for the most part, a matter of state law. However, Congress can set guidelines, and there are bills in Congress to set guidelines that would help ensure greater election integrity across the country. I'm almost reluctant to use the term election integrity because that phrase, unfortunately, has been so abused by people who are not seeking integrity, but it appears that they are seeking to skew the election results.
This is an interesting comment you just made, Commissioner, and I want to put this to you, Secretary. Commissioner Weintraub does not want to undermine the integrity of elections in this country because she believes, after observing them, that they actually are free and fair. They're becoming unfree and fair because of activities people are taking after the election, like the ones that are underway in Arizona, like what we've seen in legal changes in Georgia, like what's been proposed in Iowa and Kansas and Michigan and Pennsylvania. The elections themselves were not unfair, but we're affecting the integrity of the process because of this post-election activity.
That's exactly right. We just had the most secure election in our nation's history with just voter participation out the roof from both sides of the aisle. And now what we are seeing is Republicans not like the results. There are now over 360 bills in 47 states to suppress American voters. And we cannot allow these racist voter suppression laws to stand. This is setting up the elections to tilt power one way. And I believe that regardless of where American voters live, regardless of the color of their skin or their zip code, we all deserve access to the polls. And that's why it's so urgent for the Senate to pass H.R. 1, the For the People's Act, to guarantee vote by mail for all, ample early voting, access to drop boxes and polls across the country. State elected officials are not supposed to be taking away our constitutional rights to have our voices heard, and we urgently need Congress to act to protect our democracy.
And again, Colorado is one of those states that's been doing some of this stuff for a while. Absentee voting, vote by mail, early voting. What's your experience been?
Our experience has been that it works really well. We have the highest percentage of eligible people registered in the nation. We just had the second highest turnout, and we're considered the safest state in which to cast a ballot. And the Colorado election model is very straightforward. You register to vote, you're sent a ballot right in the mail, and you can return it to one of hundreds of drop boxes, by mail, or vote in person during weeks of early voting. You can even register on Election Day and cast a ballot. If you increase access so American voters can actually have their voices heard, they'll show up. And what that means, Ali, is we have a more representative democracy because more people get to choose which leaders they actually want representing them at the local level, state level, and in the halls of Congress.
Commissioner Weintraub, the problem I have with this is that I don't live in Arizona, but I am very, very worried about this, how this unfolds. So the idea that we have 50 different federal election systems, I understand, and I understand why that's constitutionally important. Is there some way in which we can be having a national conversation about this so that it's not just being had on MSNBC or cable TV stations, but that people understand what that word you used really means, election integrity, and how we remain one of the best systems in the world for this and not have it undermined by our own politicians?
Well, there is a debate going on in Congress right now, and particularly in the Senate, because the House has passed a bill